Here's why SpaceX's satellite service won't block Russian news sources. The entire world condemns the Russian-Ukraine war because Russia's actions aren't justified. The world has countered by cutting off Russia from the world as much as they can, with online services being banned and imports not coming into the country either. But one man still hasn't given in looking at the current situation, and that man is the richest in the world, Elon Musk. Musk is involved in the entire situation because the satellite service of his space company, SpaceX, has decided not to block Russian news sources. Before we get into this entire situation, we'll be looking at an overview of SpaceX's satellite project. SpaceX Satellite Project Overview. Developed by SpaceX, this project is designed to provide low-cost internet to remote locations. SpaceX eventually hopes to have as many as 42,000 satellites in this so-called mega constellation. The size and scale of the project astonished astronomers who feared that the bright orbiting objects will end up interfering with the observations of the universe, along with spaceflight experts who now see Starlink as the #1 source of collision in the orbit of the Earth. Along with this, some scientists also worry that the amount of metal that will end up burning in the atmosphere of the Earth when all satellites will deteriorate could bring about massive changes to the climate of Earth. Later, Starlink, the satellite project, wasn't given this name when announced in 2015. SpaceX has filed documents with the international regulators to place 4,000 satellites in Earth's lower orbit. We're talking about something which is, in the long term, like rebuilding the internet in space, Musk said during a speech in Seattle when revealing the project. Musk's initial estimate of the number of satellites soon grew as he hoped to capture a part of the estimated $1 trillion worldwide internet connectivity market to help achieve his Mars colonization vision. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission, FCC, has granted SpaceX permission to fly 12,000 Starlink satellites, and the company has filed paperwork with an international regulator to loft up to 30,000 additional spacecraft. SpaceX launched its first 2 Starlink test craft, named Tintin A and Tintin B, in February 2018. The mission went smoothly based on initial data. The company asked regulators for its fleet to operate at lower altitudes than initially planned, and the FCC agreed. The first 60 Starlink satellites launched on May 23, 2019, aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The satellites successfully reached their operational altitude of 340 miles, 550 kilometers, low enough to get pulled down to Earth by atmospheric drag in a few years so that they don't become space junk once they die. According to Sky and Telescope magazine, the current version of each Starlink satellite weighs 573 pounds, that's 260 kilograms, and is, according to Sky and Telescope magazine, roughly the size of a table. Instead of sending internet signals using cables and wires which need to be physically laid down on a landscape, satellites work faster by beaming information through the vacuum of space, since there are almost no obstacles in between. Data also travels 47% faster because of this technology, that fiber optic cable. The current satellite internet works use larger space aircrafts that orbit 22,236 miles above a particular spot on the Earth. But at that distance, there are generally significant time delays in sending and receiving data. Starlink satellites are designed to rapidly carry large amounts of information to any point on Earth's surface by being closer to our planet and networking together. This includes oceans and landscapes where laying down fiber optic cable is nearly impossible. According to Musk, the Starlink network will provide minor internet coverage after a minimum of 400 spacecraft are up and running. They will then switch to moderate coverage after 800 satellites become operational. The Ukraine situation. The Russia-Ukraine dispute hasn't done much good to Elon and Starlink after Russia's invasion took place. Many people feared that Ukraine's internet access would be cut off using cyber attacks or due to the disruption of the internet infrastructure, or even worse, both could take place. While there have been temporary outages of the internet along with cyber attacks on Ukraine's government websites, for the most part, there hasn't been a widespread internet blackout yet. That is a good sign for Ukraine to hope that things remain this way. With several immigrants still stuck in their country, the last thing they would want is their internet access to be limited. Amidst all this, Musk urged people in Ukraine using the Starlink systems to be cautious because the probability of being targeted is high. The more users are seen using Starlink services, the bigger their threat to their lives. Imagine living in a time when people will target you to use the internet, especially when the internet is so widespread and present in all parts of the world. Musk cautioned people to turn on their devices only when needed and place the antenna as far away as possible from the people, so that it doesn't risk their lives. Musk suggested that camouflage could also be placed over the antenna to avoid visual detection, mainly because satellite signals can reportedly be used to locate and target people according to their geographical location. It might seem as if Musk is concerned about Starlink, but Musk's efforts into this cause so far tell us that his priority is to save the Ukrainians from war. With Starlink's name growing and its number of satellites also increasing with every passing day, the company aims to provide internet connections to anyone on the planet. These satellites were launched into orbit in 2018. The company has deployed about 2,000 Starlink satellites into orbit across dozens of successful launches. The satellite-based service provides an alternative to internet connections spread through the land. These land-based systems can be challenging to deploy in remote areas because of the landscape offered. Satellites, however, are not bound by any landscape and being present in space. It is not a question of how, but how fast the internet can be supplied from space to our homes. The Russia situation. As for what's happening in Russia with Starlink, Musk has said that the satellite-based internet service provided by his company would not block Russian news sources even after they were requested from several governments to do so. Musk responded in evoking fashion, "We will not do so unless at gunpoint," he said via Twitter late Friday, adding, "Sorry to be a free speech absolutist." Mr. Musk didn't say who had requested Starlink block Russian news. Western governments in Moscow have been battling over news content in the wake of Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to attack Ukraine from the front. This week, the European Union had to step in to revoke the licenses of Russian state-owned RT and Sputnik. With Musk being on the side of Ukraine after helping them with internet servers, you would expect him to close down news servers on Starlink. But that wasn't the case. He didn't just provide Ukraine with the tools, but he also offered advice to Ukraine on how to keep the internet service provided by SpaceX operating as the country battles to keep the Russians out of Ukraine. Musk also said that SpaceX would be taking extra steps to make Starlink more secure against cyber attacks. This comes after Starlink's terminals were jammed for several hours at a time near conflict areas. Our latest software update bypasses the jamming, he said, adding, "I'm curious to see what's next." With Musk, a regular user of Twitter confirmed the side he is on in the ongoing war as he tweeted in support of Ukraine, "Hold strong, Ukraine." He tweeted adding, "And also my sympathies to the great people of Russia who do not want this." Apart from Starlink, another sector that concerns Musk is the oil and gas sector. Having long opposed the use of fossil fuels, Musk says that it's inevitable as the fallout from the war has a significant impact on the cost of these energy resources. Only last year, Musk paused Tesla's acceptance of Bitcoin because the amount of fuel used in mining cryptocurrency is quite a great deal. With Tesla manufacturing and selling solar panels, many would think Musk's idea of marketing his products. "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately," he tweeted. Obviously, this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports, he added. With Elon Musk fighting for what is right on so many fronts, his decision not to block Russian news sources might be needed at this time. With so much going on globally, we all need to stay updated with news, even if it concerns the invader. So many people in Russia do not want what is happening, but the situation is out of their control. Musk is trying their best to knock sense into these leaders who continue to indulge in war, resulting in the loss of civilians. That's all we had for today's video. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to click on the bell icon so you stay updated for our upcoming videos.